Hello?
Hi, yeah. Shamari here. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Um, just a quick heads up. I put it on the form, on the consultation form on the website, but we've begun recording consultations and training sessions because of COVID. It's helped out a lot. Okay.
Okay, that's totally fine.
So I just read over your consultation form. Seems like you got either a really nervous dog or a really scared dog. I'm not too sure which. Looks like a lot of shutdown type behavior.
Mhm.
Okay, so go ahead and walk me through that.
Yeah, sure. So I adopted Augie about it's coming up on a month. And just from background from the shelter, he came from an Alabama shelter, and then came to Chicago, and then shortly after I adopted him. But even from the first day that I picked him up, I had to carry him home. He wouldn't walk down the street. Just really sensitive to honestly all noises, but specifically like buses, cars, bikes, especially trains, like train tracks or anything like that. And it's interesting. It kind of comes and goes, but it's pretty pervasive. So, it took him a while to even like want to leave the building, but he'll hear a noise and just completely shut down, like stomach to the ground, his tail between his legs, and he'll start to stress pant pretty heavily.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, and but it's weird because sometimes buses will drive by and he's fine, but it's to the point where I could tell like he enjoys walks when he's not stressed, but for the most part he's stressed or nervous. Yeah, I'm not sure which one it is, but it's definitely some sort of level of anxiety, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else about Augie that you're trying to address, or is that like the main focus?
I would say that's the main focus. He does jump on new people when he meets them.
Sure.
But I would say I think he just has a lot of pent up energy. That's because he's not walking, and I take him to dog parks and things like that. But I would say that's probably like the biggest priority.
Okay. And then I think I saw you worked with the trainer before.
Yeah, so I have been working with a trainer previously, but just the way our schedules were kind of working out, it didn't work. Um, and I think she was helpful. I mean, I think we weren't. I didn't realize how much of this was his like sort of area of improvement when I was working with her. So she kind of sort of I talked about it in passing, and it was very much like just give him treats while we were walking outside, but he doesn't really respond to that. And she and I aren't working together anymore, so I kind of am looking for at least more guidance or best practices of how to approach something like this. Just because I do live downtown, where those noises are kind of everywhere.
Okay. Yeah, he's too stressed to eat. Um, Anything else about Augie I should know?
Um, no, no, no. I think that's like the biggest thing. Yeah, yeah.
So I've worked with these cases before. And I think you on the forum put that you came across this on YouTube.
Yeah, I think I've been doing a lot of research and kind of finding a lot of different kind of trainers now that I'm moving on, and I think I found you guys, found you on YouTube. Yeah, I think like working in a park or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we work at Oz Park, which is very busy. It's actually the busiest park in the city. Dogs, rollerbladers, strollers, skateboards, bikers, baseball games, loud yelling, kids, all that stuff. So it's a very, very distracting environment. So for the standard obedience case, it works really well because that's real life. But then for my behavioral cases, like we've had dogs that are dog reactive and lunge at dogs and people and stuff, is there's everything there that they would be typically reactive to. So the owners are getting practice in a very realistic environment. Okay. Now, in your case, I'm not sure. How do you think Augie would fare in that kind of environment?
I would say for the most part, he's pretty much okay in like parks and things like that. Like we've done like Millennium Park and things like that.
Okay.
It's just more so when he's like on the street, kind of yeah, that sort of environment. I think he should be fine like in a park, but It's more so the noises, from like traffic and everything like that.
Okay. Now in the videos, are you? I'm assuming since you're doing research, you after you watched the videos, did a bit more research on us and just like how we train or how I train.
Yeah, like yeah, and I have the last trainer recommended like an e-collar, so I have an e-collar and things like that.
You have
So
that?
yeah, I have one. Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, sure. I'll be right back.
Okay. The trainer recommended you that collar, or did you buy that yourself?
She recommended this and she sold it to me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, um, do you know how many settings that collar has?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, yeah, maybe hold on. Let's see. Yeah.
I'd say on the box, like 7 stimulation levels or something like that.
Let's see. Okay. It goes up to 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna talk about e-collars and how this would work with Augie. And did she do any work with you at all with the e-collar?
She did, yeah, because initially one of his things was he was mounting other dogs and
Okay.
at the dog park, and they would turn and attack him. So we were working on that. So yeah, she explained how it works, and I've been using it for like that, like sporadically, and he's mostly stopped doing that. But yeah.
Okay. What's his level that you had to correct them at?
So yeah, the yellow to like 8. Yeah, he usually reacts after that. Yeah, I haven't tried the red. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a low, medium, high type of.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so for each color, there's 15 settings.
Hmm.
Okay, so there's 45 settings total, technically.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Okay. Um, did she go over? Um, did she go over applying it obedience-wise at all, or was it mainly for behavior?
It was mostly for behavior. Yeah, we didn't do it. You mean like for walking and things like that, like
Yeah.
like healing? Yeah, no, it was mostly just for behavior. Yeah.
Okay. Um, have you tried to apply it to walking?
I have, and it freaks him out because it's like I think he's hearing all these noises, and then he's hearing like the beeping. So I tried it once, and it didn't. And maybe I wasn't doing it right, so maybe that's like the issue. But after that, I stopped.
Okay. Pardon me 1 second, Shamar. I have a client here for their dog. 1 second.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'm back. So to fix the shutdown and all that, like kind of sporadic. Um, I'm not quite sure where he's coming from. I'd have to see him in action because the way he moves tells me if it's more so fear or nervousness based. It
Okay.
doesn't really matter ultimately, but it just helps you understand your dog better.
Okay.
Is with your case, the first thing I would have started with was leash walking.
Okay.
Okay, because we need some e-collar is not natural to dogs. Okay, it's something that humans have created. It's a very effective tool. I love it. That's just what I use.
Mhm.
But he has to have it's a great aversive, so that's why stopping the mounting has been a success for the most part, because it's simply an aversive when you don't like or want him to do something, right?
Okay.
And when it comes to the behavioral aspect of it, if he shuts down, you can't punish him for that technically, because he's not doing anything wrong, right? Dogs don't have right and wrong, but it's not anything like bad, right? Like mounting or not so much bad, but like things that you would disagree with. So to get him to hold those nerves better, and not be so freaked out, when it came to applying it to the walking setting is actually using it for the walking exercise, okay? Because that's what teaches him how it turns on and how it turns off. So he looks at it more as a line of communication, but also I would expect to see if put under enough stress from the e-collar, because the e-collar is a stressor, okay? Because it's physical, it's uncomfortable. He's thinking to himself, I don't like this, how I turn it off. So he goes under stress. Is we may see shutdown, okay? But we can then use the e-collar to pop him or motivate him to get out of shutdown mode. Okay, I've seen it happens all the time. Okay, where even a dog that's not to the degree of Augie in terms of like, you know, that sensitivity level of like, you know, I hear a loud noise and I just plop to the ground. Dogs during the healing exercise, it's very common that they'll go off to the end, like to the grass, and go like, I don't want to walk anymore, and they try to shut down and just ignore everything. And then we use the e-collar to motivate them to get out of that mental state, to teach them that that is not a valid decision. Okay, they have to confront it, they have to move forward, they have to keep going, right? And we should see that once we get him to learn that shutdown is not a valid response and he has to move forward, when things would trigger him, or if there was an environment that you would like, maybe that, you know, like maybe a specific area of downtown where he hates it here, he never walks through here, is I start targeting those things. And what you're going to see in the beginning is a lot of stress, like he's going to be stress panting, his eyes might be really big, a lot of salivating, a lot of shaking, because mentally his brain is telling him to shut down, but it's no longer an option. So all that stress has to go somewhere.
Got it. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I have a client, their dog is actually here. They live in the River North area.
Okay.
And I trained them like fall, winter of this past year. And they could only walk a specific route.
That's the way he is. It took a while. Yeah, he's the same way. Yeah.
She could only walk a specific route. And we, you know, class one, I was like, we're going to do heel. We need the foundation. We're going to see what it helps, what it fixes. And then within the week, she was doing great because she would only walk a trail, but they could still tell that she was scared. Okay. And she started walking a lot more confidently. So they started branching out, right? So then by the second class, they were already going, they were saying like, Jesse, like we don't go the same route anymore. Like by the third to fourth day, we were able to start branching out. She's not perfect by any means, but now she's walking without that shutdown. And I said, great. So every day, or what I told them to do was, once they kind of mastered or achieved success with a particular change of route, they would immediately the next day start a new route, then a new route, right? So eventually she kept overcoming her fear of, you know, just traffic and then the city noise, that now she's able just to walk wherever. And you can still tell, like, because we have our pack walk here at my facility, and I was actually walking her, and she still has that kind of habit of like, you know, just being uncomfortable, but she's able to move a lot more confidently, because that's just her.
No, that makes sense. And that's, I think I'm not sure if this is just him but I'm kind of just like, for his like quality of life, like he has to be able to walk, you know.
Correct.
Dog.
Yeah. So, you know, because I have another dog who's a daycare dog, and she just did a consultation with me, and it's the same thing with her dog. She's made a lot of progress. The dog has lived her entire life that we know in a garage.
Wow.
So no exposure to dogs or people or anything like that. No socialization.
Sad.
So the young lady lives in Hyde Park, and she said in the very beginning the dog was always under stress and stuff, but since she's had her for months now, she's starting to like she's still stressed, but she can see that she's getting more comfortable, you know. So now she comes to our daycare, and then she was inquiring about training and stuff, and I just kind of told her the same thing, like, you know, she's become great within her norm, but now you got to start exposing her to build even more like comfort, and just kind of like, this is life, and this is what these are cars and all that stuff, right? So what we should see is, you know, Augie may be, and it's not terrible, it's like he just might be that kind of like not completely comfortable dog. right? But like 95% comfortable. And when he thinks he wants to shut down, like you might see like the movement, but then you'll see him recover and not do it. Okay, because the brain is going, the last time I shut down, this happened. I didn't like it. What if I kept going, nothing happened, right? So when we do this kind of training, it's kind of counterintuitive to people because they're thinking, if the dog is scared of something, how can you use something that's hurtful or uncomfortable to get them to actually overcome it? And I go, because the fear of the noises and stuff is here, right? There's no real physical connection to that sound. With the e-collar, it's physical, it's real, he feels that. Is that if he goes in the shutdown and I kick in with the e-collar to tell him that's not an option, and I do so appropriately, he's got to think to himself now, okay, well, what's more concerning, this sound that I heard or this thing that's actively making me physically uncomfortable?
That makes sense.
Right? So it's physical discomfort overriding emotional discomfort. Okay. And then we pop him through. And when he goes forward, everything goes away. And he goes, oh, it's not so bad. And it starts to condition the brain to assume, if I go into this mental state, this is going to happen. So then the brain starts to counteract itself because he's thinking, oh, shut down. Then he's like, oh, wait, e-collar. Right. But then the brain processes, oh, nothing happened. And that's how we start to recondition him and get him to ideally hold his nerves and recover more quickly. Okay. The jumping on people is simple because that's simply correct for things you don't want. It's similar to mounting. Right? You want to mount dogs, and I'm assuming you're applying it as an aversive, like don't do that, right?
Yeah.
The same thing for jumping on people. And there's multiple parts to it. It's if the person comes up to them like, okay, oh my God, right? Like obviously he's gonna jump. And it would be teaching Augie that despite their energy, he cannot put his paws on them. Okay, and like teaching Augie, even though they're doing that, you have to keep yourself. I don't need him to be sitting. I just need him to be calm, or not calm. I need him to be paws on the ground, right? Because if someone's talking to him in a high pitched voice, like he's gonna get excited.
No, exactly. And I mean, not to cut you off, but it'll be sometimes like someone's just sitting down, like minding their own business, like, and he'll just run and go jump on them. Like,
I see,
yeah, it won't even be someone we know. It'll be like at the dog park, he'll just try to jump on someone and trying to, and yeah, maybe their energy is like a little bit, I don't know, excited, but yeah, no, but okay, that's good to know that that's, I don't say an easier fix, but yeah, just something.
It is actually very easy because, so that tells me more. So like when you said they're sitting on the curb or like on the bench, whatever, and then he runs up and jumps on them, it's because he's over stimulated. And all that energy that he has, because he's at the dog park and he's playing, having fun, and he sees somebody and maybe they like smile at him and it's just like interaction. It's got to go somewhere.
Okay.
But that's an easy fix. Okay. I don't perceive his level of shutdown to be difficult. I would think if not by the first class, by the second class, he should be considerably better.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Yeah, no, and thank you for kind of clarifying, because yeah, I mean, I wish we kind of before I kind of learned how to use the e-collar, because I think my thing is he's my first dog, so I'm kind of like so fearful of doing anything that's going to do more harm than so I think using the different tools like the proper way, because yeah, I can just see the panic and stress and everything like that. So of course, like as his owner, I'm like, okay, like I don't put you in that situation, but I know he has to kind of work through it. Yeah.
Correct. And there's a difference between putting him in a situation and him working through it, and putting him in a situation and him being stuck. So like, let's say, we take Augie and, your trainer, let's say she didn't do e-collar. She only did food. And she's like, okay, we're going to bring the dog outside, where they don't like it. We're going to bring treats. And then he's so under stress that he's not taking the treats. And they're like, okay, we'll keep walking until like he gets comfortable. He's not going to get comfortable. he's too overloaded with stress, right? And all you're doing is exposing him, you're raising his stress levels, but nothing is bringing him back down again. Okay. So with e-collar, we're going to see a rise in stress levels. Okay. You might even see what looks like worse behavior. We have to work them through it. And then once he works through it, they start to go back down again. And I actually just had a case, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Oh, yeah. So the video's not up yet, but I'm going to make a note here. The dog's name is Dinah. Okay. It's an Australian Shepherd that I just started training this past Saturday, I believe it was. And man, was she bad. Like when the owner first started, like she was scattering all over the place, right? And we just kept adjusting. And then finally it clicked. And you see the dog just line up with the owner and stop going crazy. And the owner just goes like, oh my God, you know, she's like, oh my God, like it worked. But for 15 minutes, it looked like she wasn't gonna make any progress, you know, but the owner stuck with it. And we finally found her number. And then all of a sudden the dog locks in and goes, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then after that, there was a couple of hiccups, but we worked through them. It was a much faster recovery after the dog realized, oh, this is all I need to do. Okay.
That makes sense.
Because we're putting them under stress. Right. So we're using one stressor to override another stressor. And then the dog learns how this stressor works, how it turns on, how it turns off. So then it helps kind of just guide them. The reason why e-collar is so effective is the physicality portion of it. Dogs are physical animals. They bite each other. Yeah. Right. So I'm not against treats. You know, treats are great for puppies under 6 months. It's great for things you want to see again, you know, but it's in your case, because stress level's too high, doesn't make a difference.
And one thing I forgot to mention, he's only done it a couple of times, but it sounds like it's kind of this, like, he's overloaded with stress and sort of fight or flight. He's recently trying to like run away from the noise. So like he'll try to run into the street to kind of get away. I don't know if that's sort of material, but it's either he'll shut down or he'll run. Or like kind of run in the direction of home, you know? Yeah.
And that can be worked with as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So like I had a client whose dog, I've had a number of clients, but one in particular, his dog was, he lived in the South Loop, and I don't know, you know, on the Wednesdays and Saturdays, they used to have fireworks off of the shoreline.
Yeah.
So he decided to walk with his dog over there, just like enjoy a Wednesday night firework. And he sat down on the ledge, and then he told me that, you know, when the first firework went off, he went to pet his dog, and she was like already like towards Field Museum.
Oh my goodness.
You know, so he got her back because he had e-collar.
Okay.
But then he was like, hey, is there anything that I can do to teach her not to run away from me? And I said, yeah, we can counter condition that. So what he did was bought a bunch of bottle rockets, and then we taught her that whenever she heard a firework, instead of running away from him, she would run to him. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, by default. So like it's like the cue would technically be, you know, come. But in this setting, because it's a firework and they can happen at any time, technically, is the firework going off was the cue for return. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
E-collar is the only tool that can make you do that allows us to do that.
Okay.
Because e-collar, what makes it so effective is that the dog thinks that they're making the decision. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
It's the only tool that the dog thinks they're making the decision. So if I have like a leash and I pull the dog towards me, like if they don't like people, I'm doing the work. Right. Okay. But if I put tension on the leash and I'm using the remote and I'm gradually increasing it, eventually the dog will go, okay, me not liking you isn't as bad as this. Right. And then they walk towards me and everything disappears. And the dog goes, oh, wow. When I moved to you, the thing I didn't like the most went away. And I thought I should be scared of you, but nothing's happening when I'm with you. In fact, getting close to you is good because that thing went away.
Got it.
Right? But the dog thinks they did it.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, because I often find when he is in shutdown mode and I'm trying to have him continue to move, he'll go away more,
Yes.
right? Because it's like not his choice. But then sometimes he'll get up and keep moving. So it's yeah, no, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
When we do e-collar, it's very little physical guidance and
Mhm.
remote. I always say motivate. Remote motivates the dog to make the decision. We just merely guide them and direct them with the leash.
Mhm.
Remote makes them move forward. So like I think I saw something about walking under tunnels.
Yeah,
Right.
I live right on the Riverwalk, so he likes it down there because it's less cars and everything. But the bridges
Mm-hmm.
that kind of cut through the Riverwalk, and I know it's mental because sometimes there won't even be cars driving over it, but just like the side of the bridge because he's been under there when there's been cars over ahead of it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and he'll completely shut down. Like he'll see the bridge and just stop, but sometimes he'll go underneath and try to run through it, or he'll just shut down. So
Yep.
that's like a big trigger. Any type of train. So like the base of like a train nearby, or like train tracks, or kind of like those bridges that are on like Whacker. Kind of yeah.
For sure. So let's say, for example, we're going under a bridge and he puts the brakes on,
Mhm.
right? And you physically drag him and it's just brakes, 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 or like scattering, right? Because he does not want to be there. So when we do e-collar, I'd move forward, he put the brakes and I would pause and I would keep that tension to guide him. And then I kick him with the remote and I keep raising it and raising it. So eventually he goes, all right, this isn't working. And he just goes forward. And
Mhm.
then I start to direct him so that he's following my lead, and on my hip, which gives him like a reference point that he's able to walk through without the scattering or the shutdown.
Got
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Now, I had a client, her dog hated uh, she lives here in Lincoln Park, so there's like the Brown Line,
Mm.
and they live right by the Brown Line. So they walk under the Brown Line. The dog's like freaking out, especially if the train is over, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's in a very high level of flight mode. So seeing that, I told them, look, I don't really care that the dog likes the train. You can't make that happen. Okay, you can't make the dog like something that's a personal decision.
Mhm.
Um, what I care about, like it was the same thing, she would get very flighty,
Mhm.
is I taught her to run to the owner. Okay.
Got it.
So what they would do is they would approach, and if they heard the train coming, they would stop and let it pass. And instead of her running away, she would just hug into the owner. After it would pass, they would start walking. But when they would be underneath the pass, like you would see her be like this, right? Like she'd just keep looking, but
Mhm.
she wouldn't go crazy.
Mhm.
And I told them that's probably as good as you're gonna get it.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, and he does that sometimes, lets it pass, but sometimes he won't. So yeah, no, I mean, I think that's where I'm like realistic. Like this may just be him, but like it would be great to kind of like you're saying,
Yeah,
know the
we can
tools
improve it
to
for,
kind of
for sure.
yeah,
We
yeah.
can improve it. The main thing that I care about is that he never runs away.
Hmm.
Okay, at minimum, like just run to me.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
if
yeah,
you ever like if he's ever in fear, run to me. Don't run anywhere else, because then that's how you
mhm,
lose a dog.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, that's been very stressful. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So uh, and all of this, really, the heel exercise should resolve a lot of this. That's our reference point for everything.
Okay.
Then it's just exposure, and then we see how far does Augie come along.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Now I have a general idea of what I think you need for Augie.
Yeah.
Um, so the way I approach training is, I hear, I learn about the dog. I know the issues. I know what you need to help with those particular issues, and just realistically speaking, what every dog should know. Um, but then there may be other things that you personally may want. Okay, so I have 6, 9, and 12-week programs. What I'm currently hearing is you're in the 6-week realm. Okay, it's 1 day a week for an hour.
Okay.
I know it sounds short, but e-collar, when used correctly, is a very effective tool.
Hmm.
And I've been doing behavior work for 10 years. Not sound cocky, but I'm pretty good at what I do.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I read your reviews. I believe you. Yeah, no, I trust you.
So I would foresee this is definitely class one as always. If if I'm not dealing with a severely aggressive dog, is always leash walking. Okay,
Okay.
that's the first thing I always cover with the dog. Okay, um, it helps resolve a lot of issues, usually around 70% of problems. Okay, um, and class two, so you're my feedback, right? So class one, I go, all right, Shamari, here we go. Here's the baseline. Here's the exercise. I teach it to you, and I want to achieve. So my style of heel is if I take one step, Augie takes one step. If I take 5 steps, he takes 5 steps. When I stop, he automatically sits. This is with a completely slack leash. I don't care what the environment is. I don't care if there's cars, traffic, all that stuff going on, right? Once we achieve that, right, in the first class, I'll tell you, here's your homework, practice.
Okay.
You come back week 2, how'd it go? Jesse, night and day, but we're struggling with like the train, right? And then I ask you questions and I go, okay, it sounds like we may be able to fix this. Here's the second half of heel, and we're gonna make these few tweaks. I'll see you in a week.
Okay.
You come back week 3, and then I go, how to go, and you say much better, or you say no change. Then I go, okay, if there's no change, and it sounds like we're just not going to be able to make him like it, right? But then I would ask, like, well, does he try to run away from you?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then we'd want to counter condition that, so he doesn't run away from you, that he runs to you, and it's a very, 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 very simple exercise. Okay.
Okay.
And my goal for you is to be able to walk Augie anywhere through Chicago, and us not
Me
getting
too. Me too.
and I think it's very doable
Mhm.
in your case. Okay. The only thing, I think the hardest thing would be just that definitely the train stuff. Maybe the bridge, but I don't think so, because you said sometimes he will walk underneath it, right?
Yeah, it's very like sporadic. So I think he can get through it. I like you said. I think once, because even when you're talking about how he should be walking, like I definitely, and that's on me. Like we definitely don't walk that way where he's kind of in front of me. Like so maybe like there's I probably a lot that I'm doing wrong in terms of sort of guiding him.
Mhm.
So I could see it not being. I agree with what you're saying, because sometimes he's fine. So it's just I don't
Right.
yeah, it's just kind of identifying the triggers, or when he's getting sort of triggered, how to sort of help him get out of shutdown mode, like you're saying. Yeah, that makes
Correct. So the reason why the heel is so effective here is because it calms dogs down.
sense.
Okay. So right now, because there's no real formal, not that you're not trying to provide it, but there's no formal leadership and consequence that he's going, oh, I know what this means, because
Mhm.
you're talking his language, right?
Mhm.
Is once we get that in play, again, in the beginning, it may feel worse,
Mhm.
but that's why we work through it, is that you'll see the change. And once you go like, oh crap, like he's so calm and he's passive and he's stressed, but you can see he's like processing and just like finally settled,
Mhm.
is those other things go away, because now he's not stress on stress on stress.
Mhm.
Okay, he's starting to calm down. So when something stressful does happen, ideally we don't see the trick, we don't see the reactive response of like, oh my god, I'm gonna scatter or shut down. Okay,
Mhm.
because he's not jumping from 10 now, he's jumping from 0, 1, 2. So there's an escalation. And on my channel, a couple of videos, I call them highlight videos. So if you go to my YouTube channel and you go to, I just made it recently, I think it's dog training highlights,
Okay.
and you click on that playlist, there's only like 6 videos in there, but there's 2 in particular. One is Ruthie and the other one is Lake. Okay.
Okay.
Ruthie is a very nervous puppy. Okay. And during the consult, I told them, I suspect that your puppy's going to calm down with just formal discipline. Okay. Because they kept thinking, like, well, she does this, she does that, and she does this. I'm like, that, those are all nervous triggers. So then I said, once we get the e-collar in play and it settles her, we should see that decline. And then from class 1 to class 2, it was 180. and they're like, Jesse, she is so calm now because she got discipline. Okay, she
Got
got
it.
guidance. For
Okay.
Lake, same thing. And Lake came to me with 2 trainers that couldn't get anything done. And you see her very reactive the first class. Okay, by the end of the class, she's very passive, no longer barking and lunging. And then that was at my facility here in Logan Square, completely non-realistic environment, right? I meet them at Oz Park the next class. She is super calm. She is super calm, okay, because we finally settled her down. So that's always the theory of, like, you know, when I come into the picture, I go, okay, I know we have these problems, but no one's talking to the dog like a dog. And once you start to get that in play and they start to get consequence and consequence they understand and they start to calm down, it fixes a lot of this other stuff, okay? If it doesn't, it gives us at least that baseline or reference point for Augie to refer to whenever when he goes into that mode, right? So like if I'm walking with Augie and he's doing really well, and then like maybe there's a loud car backfire and he goes, what the hell was that? And he scatters, and I remote him, he goes, all right, heel, boom, and he jumps to my left leg.
Got it. Got it.
And he recovers.
Okay. So it's not just like me getting the tools, it's like him getting the tools to like how to deal with being out in the city as well. That makes a lot of sense.
Because the world isn't supposed to be like this. The world is supposed to be trees and hills and grass and swamps, right? Wildlife. It's not meant to be concrete buildings, cars, and all that stuff. So, you know, and this is not uncommon for me. I get a lot of clients, and I got actually about 3 of them right now who have moved from like suburb Chicago or small town Michigan to busy Lakeview or South Loop Chicago. Now the dog is a mess. I'm like, yeah, because you went from, you know, a calm environment to busy Chicago, and my dogs did the same thing too. Because my dog's from Texas, and you literally drive across the town within 15 minutes. It was that small, okay? And then they moved to busy Chicago, and my pit bull, Lexi, she didn't poop for 3 days because she was so stressed.
Augie too. He didn't go. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Right. And then finally, I woke up and I saw her face, and like, today's the day. And then 3 days of poop came out.
Yeah. Oh.
So
yeah.
they're perfectly fine now. They've acclimated and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So it'd be 2. So I think you're in the 6-week realm, from what I'm hearing. 2 classes on leash walking. If everything is progressing like I wanted to, and you know, and we're making that progress, I would just continue with obedience. Okay. So obedience and behavior are 2 different things. So I don't want you to think that the obedience is fixing the problem, because it's not. It's the discipline. Okay. It's the remote. It's the physicality that's helping Augie, not the sit, not the down, none of that stuff. It's the discipline behind it. Okay. Excuse me. So after the first 2 classes, I'm like, hey, how's it going? You're like, Jesse, it's going great, right? Or if we're struggling with something, I'll ask you, and I'm like, what is it? You'll tell me. And if it's something that we need to work on, we work on it. Otherwise, most of the time, it's very simple answers, and I'll just tell you, you know what? The next time that happens, you know, go to 55 or something like that. Like, raise the number, okay? And then let me know how that works for you. And then we would continue with control or obedience. The next thing I would want to jump into with Augie is most likely recall. Okay, so that we don't have to worry about a dog running away from us. And then that also sets the foundation for like things that spook him, like you said, that where he gets super flighty, that instead of running away, by default he runs to you. Okay. Classes 5 and 6, I would most likely start to go towards more stationary stuff.
Okay.
So like the easiest thing we teach that's stationary is the place command, which means go to your bed and don't move.
Okay.
For a dog like Augie, how it can be beneficial is if he doesn't like really busy environments, having him sit in place and not move and have all that going around him can be difficult. Okay, because then flight response kicks in and you have to counter that and go like, flight is not an option. You have to just take in the situation and accept it. Okay, to help him to learn to hold those nerves better. Okay. It's funny because I'm just thinking of all the cases that I've had that are like Augie, because I had one and she came from like kind of like northwest like an hour and a half away, quiet suburb.
Yeah.
And she was going to end up moving in the city. And she trained with me pre-COVID, and then we stopped. And then I didn't see her for a couple of months, and she picked back up again here in the city. And man, like her dog was like 8. Like this was a dog that if somebody walked by, would go to the other side of the owner, and like would just be like just like, who are you, and like very suspicious. And the last time I saw her, like the dog was like unfazed,
Yeah.
and now she moved to like busy, Lincoln Park with elevator and all that stuff, dogs and everything, and dog's doing great because of e-collar and settling those nerves down.
Yeah. Okay. No, I mean, yeah, that sounds great, and yeah, I like how it's kind of like you give me like homework to do, and then like we work on it, and we can kind of see progress. Like, yeah, as opposed to like sporadically. I like how it's like organized in a week by week.
Yes. And like, let's say, so the way it would work is, you find a time with Maria that would work for you, and it works with my schedule, and that would be your time slot. Okay.
Okay.
If you travel, or if you have to go out of town or whatever and push back, not a big deal. But yes, and with the way that I train, like, let's say, like I have some clients that are like, they're on a rotating schedule. So our schedules don't line up. And they're like, is it going to affect the training? I go, no. I'm like, it actually just gives you more time to see either more progress or to see where your dog needs help, right? Okay. So, so I may not see them for a couple of weeks, and then they'll come back, but they'll have this wealth of information for me. Then I go, okay, cool. This is how we handle these things. This is the next logical step. Okay. Also, because of COVID, I don't touch the dog anymore. It's all you. Okay, so it's harder, but you learn so much more. I already know how to work with the dog like Augie. Okay, I already have that skill set. You need that skill set.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll be coaching you through everything. E-collar is I'm still getting the same level of results that I was getting pre-COVID when I did still handle the dogs. Okay. Nothing's changed in terms of effectiveness other than I'm not involved. It's all me telling the owner, coaching you through everything, explaining everything to you. I give you visuals and stuff, and then of course you're just you take it, and it's very simple exercises. You just practice. Okay. And everybody's loving it. Okay. Because most trainers tend to use methods that aren't realistic or train in a not realistic environment, right? So for my other clients, we're smack in the middle of like everything that they're like, crap. Like for some of them, it's not even realistic because it's too busy. Like they're in a quiet. I got clients coming from New Lenox. I got clients coming from Palatine. I got people coming from Highland Park. So our setting is not realistic to them. But I'm like, if you could do it here, over there is gonna be a problem. It's gonna be easy peasy.
Yeah.
Okay? For you, because I know the busyness of the street and stuff, I don't think it's gonna be a factor. Okay. I have a client in the South Loop area who moved from a small Ann Arbor, Michigan, in a very highly anxious case. The dog's name is Astro. His video is also on our YouTube channel, and he's naturally an anxious dog. So even now, like you see him, he's so anxious, but he's a much more passive, anxious energy. Okay. So yeah, I think you'll be fine with those 6. You do have to do the homework. Okay. And so I know you have the pet safe. Okay. I would recommend if you can sell it, sell it. It's not good. Okay. So the brand that I use is Dogtra, and Maria would send you the info. It's Dogtra, Dogtra. It's the best brand of training collar. Okay. You can get them on Amazon. And I'll tell you the make and model after I learn a little bit more about Augie here. But have you ever been to a chiropractor or a physical therapist?
No.
No? Have you ever seen those videos where they recreate labor contraction pains in men?
Yes.
Okay. So that machine is what's called a TENS unit. Okay. TENS. and they use it. They use it in sports rehabilitation when they pull a muscle and stuff. If you have like scar tissue on your muscle, they use it to break up the scar tissue. Um, Essentially, it pulses the muscle. Okay, and the intensity changes the higher you go. So to recreate labor contraction pains, obviously labor contractions are very uncomfortable at a very high setting. So the e-collar is that same technology. Okay, it's a muscle contraction. Now, cheaper models are more along the lines of what I would call a shock, and they're much more. So, like mine goes to 127, okay, and yours I think goes like 45-ish. It sounds like 45 and 127 are the same, but I have 70 to 80 more breaks.
Yeah.
Okay? So the issue with the one you have currently is I'm familiar with the PetSafe model. The way it comes across is more along the lines of a shock, but also one, you're having to flip settings of like green, yellow, red or something, it sounds like. Whereas mine, it's a very fluid, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like you go up in increments of 1 and there's no having to change settings, because you want to think in an emergency setting, if Augie were to be running away because he's scared, the last thing you want to worry about is fiddling with your remote getting to that high setting. I want to know if I just turn it up and hit the button, it's max power and I'm going to get him back. Okay. Plus the way it comes across, it's not like I said, a shock. It's just a muscle contraction. Okay. How much does Augie weigh?
He's now 45 pounds.
And what breed of dog? He's a
lab hound mix.
Lab hound. Okay. So you technically have two choices here. Okay. In terms of model. So one is the Dogtra 2300-2300 NCP for Nick Constant Page. And the other is the Dogtra 3500 NCP. Okay. Now, the difference here with these two models is the output. The 2300 is meant for 70 pounds and under. The 3500 is meant for 70 pounds and over. Okay. And the reason why I'm suggesting two of them for you is I've been doing this a really long time. And one thing that trainers and people don't account for is mental state and physical state. So let's say Augie got spooked and was running, right? And you max out the 2300, there is a possibility that it will not override the level of fear that he's in. Okay. The 3500, I'm not concerned about that because I'm going, this is the highest powered collar. We're going to override. Okay. So that's why I'm giving you that option. It's possible that Augie is super sensitive to the collar and, we're able to get him return and stuff, but it's kind of like you don't know until you're there type of scenario, and I'm kind of like, I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it type of person.
Okay.
Now, the issue here is the 3500 was recently just discontinued. Okay.
Okay.
Now you can still find them on eBay or on the internet. They're getting more and more scarce, but it is possible to find them. Okay. Is if you decided to go to 3500, we'd look for one with you and help you, because I've had to help a couple of clients because it's just getting that scarce.
Is there a reason why it got discontinued, or?
I don't know. So like I called them because I'm a dog dealer. I don't carry the collars anymore because everybody just goes to Amazon. I called them and I was like, this is your best collar? It's meant for like Rottweilers, kind of Corsos, like these really large breed dogs. I'm like, it's not like those dogs go anywhere, so why would you discontinue it? And like the lady was like, I don't know, like, like a lot of people aren't happy about it. So I'm like, if a lot of people aren't happy about it, why are you discontinuing it, right?
Yeah.
So I've been pestering them and telling them like, hey, like there's some dogs that really need this collar, So hopefully they bring it back. But if you can't happen to find one, I do have one here that I bought off of a client that got it for her dog and like used it like twice. The only reason I'm not offering it right off the bat is it's kind of like my fallback when we can't find them anymore. There's like I at least have one here to like help
Yeah.
someone, right?
Yeah. You
Um,
can go for it. Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, you do have those two options. Okay, I don't know how Augie's going to respond. The only reason why I would say get the 3,500 is like let's say you get the 2,300 and we're using it. So like I actually have a client now who I told get the 3,500. She couldn't find it. She got the 2,300, and her dog's number is 95. Okay, 85, 95, just for like regular stuff. So then, and she was struggling with reactivity for about 4 weeks. The dog kept lunging and barking at dogs. And I told her, I'm like, look, like if you're already 85, 95, just to get your dog to put its butt on the ground, it would make sense that when your dog is under stress and lunging and barking, you're going to need even more power. Now, thankfully, part of the reason why her dog wasn't getting better was because she wasn't going higher. I kept telling her to go higher, and she kept capping like 85, 95 for weeks. And then finally, when I saw her this last week, I was like, how was it? She's like, oh, it's great. Much better now. And I was like, oh, I'm like, what about the reactivity? She's like, oh yeah, a lot better. And I was like, well, what happened? She's like, well, I went to 105 and he stopped. I'm like, okay, there you go. Okay. But my concern, I was getting scared because I was like, man, I'm like, maybe it's because it's not enough power,
Right.
But then the next thing that I think about is like, all right, well, if you're at 105 to stop reactivity, if this dog ever got into a fight, you only have 20 more levels to get that dog to pull away,
Yeah.
So, because I've been in these situations before where it's like, crap, it's not enough power.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. It's kind of like I'm just saying like err on the side of caution because you want to account for if he spooks and for whatever reason books it, you have to have enough power to make him more scared of running away from you than he is about running away from whatever that spooked him.
Got it.
Okay.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I'll look for it for sure. Yeah.
A very common question that I get is when does the e-collar go away? Okay. In my book, it doesn't. When you need it. Okay, so that means if you're going to be, especially with your case, because he's such a shutdown, flighty dog, is you don't want to gamble being out there and not having it and him taking off. Okay, so my dogs hate fireworks, and I was walking them in Logan Square, and this happened twice, and I didn't have their e-collar on, so I was just walking them or whatever, and I wasn't expecting two jerks each day to light a firework, just out of nowhere. Okay, it wasn't even 4th of July. Okay, it was just let's light a firework right next to me. Okay, so my dogs got scared and they're like, crap, get us home, we don't want to be out here anymore. But I had nothing to counter them. I can't override that level of fear unless I have the e-collar. Okay, so, and I was kicking myself. I was like, I wish I would have had my e-collars with me, whatever, but it is what it is. I managed them home. But those things happen, is that you want to know that, the way we expect this to progress is we get Augie to this place where he can recover really quickly. He doesn't shut down. He's able to just walk more confidently. It's going to take a while to get over the stress and stuff. And maybe he's not 100% comfortable, but he's much more comfortable. It's present in case life throws you a lemon one day.
Got it. No, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. And just curious, is it safe to, I guess, have it on when he's playing with other dogs? Because right now I just have it when we're like practicing, when that sort of stuff. But okay, yeah, that's like fine. Yeah.
It's safe, because it's not gonna go off randomly or whatever.
Okay.
It's so the system that I recommend is fully waterproof, both the transmitter and the receiver. The 3,500 has a 1 mile range and the 2,300 has a 3/4 mile range, so plenty of range for the standard family pet. And they both go in increments of 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 127, so you can really fine tune it to Augie. But yeah, for the e-collar, people are always like, when does it go away? And in your case, I could see you be much more like, just like, yeah, that makes sense because Augie's a flighty dog, right?
Yeah.
But most of my clients whose dogs, it's just like obedience stuff, they'll say, well, the dog should know, like it's dog training, like they should know and just do it. And I go, no, that's not how it works. So like for humans, do you drive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you go on the expressway?
Mm-hmm.
Do you go the speed limit?
Most of the
Most
time.
of the time, right?
It's being recorded, right? Yeah.
Don't worry. I don't go the speed limit either, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you see a squad car, I'd assume you would,
Mm-hmm.
because now we have an authority,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the same thing. I look at the e-collar as a cop on a collar. When it's present, Augie, with his nervousness and all that stuff, for one, will know that, hey, that thing's here to counter me. So
Mm-hmm.
he'll counter himself.
Okay.
But two, like, let's say he didn't have those problems. Let's say he was a completely stable dog and he just wanted obedience. Well, if the collar's not present, he's like, well, shit, I can get away with it. Why wouldn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's just people are it's called opportunistic behavior. If people do it, I don't understand why they don't understand that dogs are going to do it too.
No.
Okay, and we know better.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there are laws that say don't go past 70. Yet most people go past. You're on the expressway, you see everybody going past 70, right? And you might get that occasional car that does go the speed limit and pisses everybody else off because they're going the speed limit, but they're technically doing the correct thing.
Yeah.
You know.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but obviously in your case, because he's so flighty and stuff, you want to make sure you always have that collar on.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a quick potty break, I've had people, they go, man, Jesse, like I would just ran my dog out for 1 minute, like a 1 minute pee or whatever. And then like I saw a parade of dogs, my dog was lunging and barking and it was just uncontrollable. I'm never doing that again, or they take their dog out and somebody just decides to blow up a firework, at that moment, and then the dog's like all over the place scattering and they're wishing they had the tool. Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Questions, concerns?
No. So I mean, so in terms of like location, like what do you recommend? Like, trying the park or
Oh yeah. So
like where like what would be the best sort of test place? Yeah.
so we've been working strictly out of Oz Park because of COVID.
Okay.
We've had people coming to us. One reason is because I would see is up to as many as 8 people a day.
Mm-hmm.
Is if someone does have it and I go to everybody else, I'm going into your home and exposing that to everybody, right? So that's like the biggest reason. And then so having everybody at Oz Park also allows me to fit more people within a day because I'm not having to drive everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we can also social distance. It's a very realistic environment. We're outside. We're not, inside in the hallway or anything like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
very busy. I am just opening up I shouldn't say in home, but like at home training. But it's very limited availability because again, try to see as many people as I can within like certain days. So then Maria would say like, well, Jesse has an opening here, but most of my evenings and weekends are all booked up, and we're all booked up at Oz Park. Okay, because I just started bringing in at-home training this past week. Okay, but it's also more expensive because it's pulling me away from a location. So that COVID's unfortunately kind of screwed things up a bit. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, I haven't been to. I mean, I'm assuming there's traffic around there and stuff like that. I've never been, so.
yeah. So so the way we would do it is, we'd meet at Oz. There is some traffic, admittedly, not as much as you would see in your area. Okay. Because you have a special case. But I don't think once you learn the technique and once you learn how to pop them out of shutdown, I think transferring it to your setting is not going to be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, another thing that we can do is, so like since you're meeting at Oz, the rate is of course cheaper. Mm-hmm. If I go to you, it's more expensive. What I've also been doing is I have one of my trainers here, who's been with me for about approaching a year now, I believe. And he's come a long way, and I've been giving him little cases here and there where he'll do like a one-off class for a client. Okay, is let's say you're struggling with it, I would send them to you like a complimentary little session with him, and he would take what he knows and go see what's going on and then help you fix it in your space.
Okay, yeah, no, but I mean, but kind of like you said, like, once I have like the tools and know how to use the e-collar, the idea is for him to be able to go anywhere. So,
Yeah,
whether
I
it's
don't foresee
dog
it being a
park or
problem.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I know that makes sense. Yeah. Um, okay, cool. And then so yeah, I guess this next step, just reach out to Maria again in terms of coordinating kind of when to start. You have to look at my schedule and everything like that.
For sure.
And then, kind of get started. Okay, cool. Anything else I should know in terms of like anything I need to bring or anything like that?
But just need a leash and your e-collar. Uh,
Okay.
and then I recommend that you read over the book. I'm gonna send you some videos once you're confirmed.
Okay.
I send 3 videos to prep you for the lesson,
Okay.
so
Okay.
we jump right into training. Um, and then we'll need a 30-foot leash, or you'll need one to do
Okay.
the recall. You get them on Amazon. They're $8 to $12, nothing fancy.
Okay. Cool.
30 feet is the perfect length, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna call Maria because I have another consult early. So usually I call her and go like, "Hey, this is what I recommended."
Mm-hmm.
So she'll reiterate the pricing and all that stuff.
Okay.
Um, and then she'll also give you the make and models of the collars. I think you may have wrote them down yourself, but
Yeah.
she'll then just reiterate that to you.
Okay.
And then you would coordinate with her in terms of scheduling and stuff. And then once you're on board, we'll see you whenever you are on the calendar.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Etsy. This is super helpful. Yeah, I think you answered all my questions. So
Yeah,
much.
no, I'm glad. And then, yeah, for sure. I recommend, I tell everybody, like, if, the reason why I love, I don't love that COVID happened, but I love that it's enabled me to record everything, to show everybody. One, like I have a daycare dog here who wants to do training, but they don't have the funds yet. So
Mhm.
they've just been watching our videos and like kind of just applying it. You
Mhm.
can literally train your dog by watching our videos. Your case would be a little bit more difficult because it's more behavioral, but
Mhm.
like the average dog could be trained by watching our videos because it's uncut, unedited for the owner. Okay.
Yeah.
But then I'm doing the highlight videos, the ones that I referred you to break things down because I'm not expecting every person to watch an hour-long video every single time.
Mhm.
So it's more concise and it's more like, hey, this was the before, here's the after, this was just one class, this is how easy it was. It was easy because of this and the e-collar and blah, 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 blah. Is it kind of just goes to prove that I know what I'm doing and that our results are effective.
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate this. Yeah, this was a lot of really great information. Just yeah, and it seems like you've had other cases like him, so
Yeah, I've had lots of cases like him. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Maria will get in contact with you.
Mhm.
And then yeah, we'll see you when we see you.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a great
Thank you,
night.
Maria. Have a good evening.